A Philadelphia Story.
A Conversation with Alan Epstein. Alan B. Epstein is the chair of Spector, Gadden, and Rosen's Employment Law Practice Group. He has litigated complex claims before courts throughout the United States and has been admitted to practice in cases pending before numerous state and federal trial and appellate courts and administrative agencies. He has been named as one of the best lawyers in America in the publication of that name for over 10 years and has been named a top 100 super lawyer in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. He has also been selected as one of the nation's 500 leading lawyers, top 500 plaintiffs' lawyers, and top 500 litigators by Law Dragon. He is an active member of the National Employment Lawyers Association and has served as a volunteer mentor and coordinator for the Employment Litigation Panel of the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania and as a national leader and inn president in the American Inns of Court movement. He was elected as fellow to the College of Labor and Employment Lawyers and has served on its board of governors as secretary, treasurer, vice president, and then president. Alan is well known for his representation of a young HIV-positive attorney against a prestigious Philadelphia law firm in the early 1990s that received national attention because of the daily televising of the trial by Court TV and Cable News Network and the award-winning film Philadelphia. Epstein's client, Scott Burr, received a letter at his office from an infectious disease specialist at Johns Hopkins Medical Center. The letter did not mention AIDS or HIV, but was written on letterhead from Johns Hopkins AIDS Services Department. His secretary saw the letter as she opened all of his mail. A photocopy of the letter was later found in the files of his supervisor. Shortly after receiving the letter, he was told his contract would not be renewed, despite being previously praised for his work. At the time Epstein's client was fighting in court, the country as a whole was grappling with understanding the nature of the disease. As Epstein said previously in an interview, the case was not just about HIV. It was about the stigma it carried and its association as a gay man's disease. Epstein's trial raised many of the same issues that were being highlighted at the time by the award-winning movie Philadelphia, starring Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, with music by Bruce Springsteen. Denzel Washington played the role of a young attorney representing another lawyer who was fired for having HIV. The stigma associated with HIV and AIDS during this time was illustrated in the movie. As Denzel Washington's character stated,
"And in their panic, they did what most of us would like to do with AIDS, which is just get it and everybody who has it as far away from the rest of us as possible." Now, the behavior of Andrew Beckett's employers may seem reasonable to you. It does to me. After all, AIDS is a deadly, incurable disease. But no matter how you come to judge Charles Wheeler and his partners in ethical, moral, and inhuman terms, the fact of the matter is, when they fired Andrew Beckett because he had AIDS, they broke the law.
According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, in 2015, 18,303 people were diagnosed with AIDS. Since the epidemic began in the early 1980s, 1,216,917 people have been diagnosed with AIDS. To ensure legal protection for people living with HIV/AIDS, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. This provided the legal backing to the kind of suit brought in the movie Philadelphia and for Epstein's trial. The act prohibits employers from discriminating against people with disabilities, including AIDS and HIV. As stated by the EEOC, if you have HIV infection or AIDS, you have workplace privacy rights. You are protected against discrimination and harassment at work because of your condition, and you may have a legal right to reasonable accommodations that can help you to do your job. But as with many civil rights issues, there is more work to do. Despite advances in treatment in HIV and efforts by civil rights attorneys such as Epstein to fight against the stigma associated with HIV, the stigma still exists. Between 1997 and 2014, the EEOC received more than 4,000 charges alleging ADA violations based on a person's HIV status. As Denzel's character stated, "This is the essence of discrimination, formulating opinions about others not based on their individual merits, but rather on their membership in a group with assumed characteristics."
This is a Philadelphia story, a conversation with Alan Epstein.